Did you see that film called Pierpoint? Pierpoint, the last British executioner. Very well done. About what's it like to be the public executioner, you know, and how do you live with yourself? I mean, he just comes home to his wife and kids, you know, and he's called away with his little suitcase. After the war, he just popped over to Germany and hanged 10 Nazis after the court and then just popped back, you know what I mean? It was all very, very odd. But what's it like to be a public executioner? I think moralists have thought about this for centuries, haven't they? How can you be a good executioner? Different from being a soldier, isn't it? Because, I mean, it's not...
I think that with law, in terms of law, I think that laws can come as a result of morality. You know, thou shalt not kill, so you have murder laws.
Army types never admit they're trying to turn men into robots. If I say stick your bayonet into that man, you stick your bayonet into that man. You know, and it also has a linguistic aspect because it has this kind of special Gertrude Steinian repetitive grammar. You know what I mean? You don't question if I tell you to do that. Yes. But a lot of people in the military think military training does have moral content.
Oh yeah, very much so. The military worry about ethics. I mean, the military themselves, despite what anybody might think, don't really want to kill civilians.
Most soldiers don't actually kill people, do they? That's right.
I talk quite a lot to very senior officers who will say, well, you know, we don't want to have a war. We're instruments of the state. If we're sent out to fight a war as instruments of the state, we're damn well going to try and win it.
You can brutalise a force much more easily than people think, and I'm sure history shows this is the case. Systematically exterminate populations. I don't mean gas chambers. I mean just exterminate populations of peasants.
The military, I find, are very ethical. Really.
Absolutely.
I had sneaked into a conference which is slightly unethical anyway. It was a conference next door. It was an ethics conference where I was giving a keynote, and next door there was another conference, and I noticed there was a paper where the CIA were talking about drone attacks. And so I came in and got into a good argument with them. But they said, well, look, we're having a roundtable discussion on could you have an ethical code for the intelligence services, which I did go to. And that was extremely interesting because what it brought out really was the hypocrisy of our society. Because we have all these moral rules, but yet we employ these people and we criticise them, knowing that they're doing a lot of dirty work on our behalf. If I was to stop them tomorrow, when would I start them again? Because would I wait until a lot of people had died?
Lots of those army research things, the famous one, it's called the Institute for Creative Technologies in Los Angeles. It's funded half by the army and half by Hollywood. And that's where they're doing lots of this companion stuff. They're actually using very sophisticated war games with companions to train the soldiers of the future, because they'll be able to train them with avatars, some of whom they'll be intended to shoot in the real world, and some of whom, like civilian avatars, they're meant to chat to in desert oases and not shoot, and speak to in Pashto and saying, I'm your friend, I just covered all this clutter, but I'm your friend.
The soldier is taking a big risk in thinking ethically, because soldiers have to react very, very quickly, unlike software engineers. They have to react instantly. So someone says, kill those children.
If I say, stick your bayonet into that man,
and you say, no, I'm not going to do that. And maybe those children were just about to blow up 10,000 people or 1 million people with the little wire they've got, like they do in Iraq.
You don't question if I tell you to do that.
Now, that soldier, for not doing it, whether it's ethical or not, is culpable.
You stick your bayonet into that man.
They could be charged for behaving ethically, they could be tried, they could be court-martialed, in some circumstances they could actually be executed. Whereas with the engineer, it's a personal choice. They might lose their job, but that's quite a different thing entirely. So the engineer has a chance to step back and make a moral choice.
Some drunk barrister with a shotgun last year was shot dead by the police on a balcony in a London street. And he was drunk, he was very drunk, he was holding a shotgun, he'd fired the shotgun out the window. Most people now, and at the inquest and the public, don't think they should have killed him. They should have found some other way of stopping him. One of the armed soldiers who was in the firing posse said he didn't fire, and he wouldn't. And he thought they were wrong. So in other words, he was under orders to shoot the man, but he said he didn't fire.
Laws can come as a result of morality. Thou shalt not kill.
He actually took a decision, like in a firing party, not to fire.
Thou shalt not kill.
For moral reasons.
I can't tell engineers how to think morally. I think they should really think about it very seriously. In the real world, it's quite easy to say, I'm part of this. I know it's going to be used for purposes that I don't agree with. But, if I don't do it, somebody else will. This is what I hear all the time when I talk to people about taking military funding.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty.
I've never taken military funding, for instance.
And to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
And I don't tell colleagues off about taking military funding, but they will say things to me like, well, if we don't take the money, somebody else would. That's the general attitude. But if nobody took it, nobody else would.
Yeah.